Landlords with lawnmowers and kids who won't listen, NLE crashes and weird software glitches, release dates pushed back after recording. These are the things that make me want to scream. When the cat steps on my keyboard, when my playback lags, I think of how I just want to go to bed. I feel like I'm going mad. Let's talk about Vegas Pro 19. I was first introduced to the world of Vegas Pro back when Vegas Pro 18 came out, and I was really impressed with what they had to offer. But now we've got Vegas Pro 19 that was just released, and I gotta say, I think this might be the most important NLE release of 2021. Make sure you stick around to find out why. All right, quick little bit of disclosure before we get started. I've been playing around with the beta version of Vegas Pro 19 for about a month, and I just got my hands on the full release so I could take advantage of all the features. All of this was provided to me for free by Vegas Creative Software, but they're not sponsoring this video. No money exchanged hands. They don't get to see the video before it's released, and they have no say in what I say in this video. So this is a 100% honest, open, unbiased review, okay? Okay. Also, I'll just say this right off the bat, the basic functions of Vegas Pro 19 are about the same as they were in Vegas Pro 18. So if you want to know about the basic stuff, go check out my review on Vegas Pro 18. It'll be linked in the description and the end screen and a card somewhere. You get the idea. They're going to be linked in all the places. So with all of that out of the way, we've got a lot to cover. Let's get started. The first thing that I noticed about Vegas Pro 19, well, there's a couple things, but the first thing that I noticed was how fast everything is. I mean, the way that the workflow is optimized, it's just optimized for speed. Render speeds are fast. Even the way that Vegas Pro 19 opens up is super fast. I mean, you click on the thing and literally less than 20 seconds, it was open in a project and ready for editing. I mean, how crazy is that? Also, we've got a new look. It's darker and sleeker, a little bit more modern, dare I say more professional. I really enjoyed the new look. So good job, Vegas team. You guys hit it out of the park with that. But Vegas Pro 19 isn't just another pretty face. Oh no, my friends, we've got a ton of new features, just a whole bunch of stuff that adds to the just fast workflow and capabilities and just all of the things. I'm super excited about what they're doing here. Let's start at the top with Blackmagic Raw and ProRes RAW support. We can actually import Blackmagic Raw and ProRes RAW into our projects without any plugins, which is super cool. Now there's a couple caveats to this. For one, we don't get the full RAW workflow. So what I mean by that, if you're not familiar with RAW, if you use RAW footage, typically when you go into your NLE, you add the footage to your timeline, you have the ability to change the ISO and the white balance, all of the camera settings, so that it's not really destroying the footage, it's actually changing the way it was shot in camera. I know I'm doing a horrible job of explaining that, but that's basically what you can do, but in post, and we don't have that in Vegas Pro 19 yet. So basically you can import the footage, but you have to use it the same way you would use any other video clip. Also, if you have your proxies set to auto or on, then whenever you bring in raw footage, it's automatically going to create a proxy. And the proxy creation indicator is this tiny little box down in the bottom left-hand corner. So sometimes you might not realize that a proxy is being generated and you try and put something into the timeline or into the trimmer window and things get a little wonky. Don't worry, things aren't broken. It's just creating a proxy. Now, I've talked to the Vegas team about this and they say they're going to be working on a way to make that proxy indicator more noticeable so that people don't freak out like I did and think things are breaking. Either way, we've got RAW support. Super excited for that. Next up on our list of new features is Vegas Hub, which has a couple different functions that I'm really excited about. First of all is mobile uploads. If I took my phone and downloaded the Vegas Hub app, then I could take a video file from my phone and I could upload it to Vegas Hub. And then in Vegas 19, I open up my Hub Explorer, I go to the mobile uploads folder, and there's my footage. On top of that, we've got Vegas Content. And if you do Vegas content, you can actually search for stock footage from Storyblocks right from within Vegas Pro 19. You can find your clip, you can add it to Vegas Hub, and boom, you got it there. It's ready to be added to your project. Super fast. You don't have to go to any websites. You don't have to like upload mobile footage to Google Drive and then download it onto your computer. It's all just right there. Now, there is a weird glitch with this that I've found where if you actually import your footage into your timeline directly from the Vegas Hub Explorer, you get a weird glitch green screen of death, and sometimes it actually transfers that glitch to all the other files in your project. It's really, really weird. I don't know what's going on with that. I've talked to the Vegas Creative Software team about it. I wasn't able to recreate the problem on the call, but hopefully they watch this video and they see the glitch that I'm talking about and they'll know how to fix it. In the meantime, there is a workaround. When you sync your Vegas Hub content, you actually get a hard copy on your computer. And if you go into your normal Explorer in Vegas Pro 19 and go to the files or the folders where those files are stored, you can import them into your project that way and everything should work fine. All right, moving on to the next new feature, we've got text to speech, which is exactly what it sounds like. You click a button, it opens up a little dialog box, you type something in or maybe copy something in from the internet, you hit play and you get something like this.
If you're enjoying this video, it would mean the world to me if you hit that thumbs up button. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for more video editing and filmmaking content.
That's one of the best artificial voices I've ever heard. Take that, Joshio.
I'm telling him you said that.
Don't you dare.
Calling Joshio.
Oh, all right, let's talk about color grading for a second. In Vegas Pro 18, they introduced an effect called color grading, which allowed you to use your conversion LUTs and do log wheels and your curves and your look LUTs all from one single interface. And in Vegas Pro 19, that effect got a complete overhaul. It looks nicer and we've got some new functionality. For one, in Vegas Pro 19, we've got a whole bunch of built-in input LUTs. I mean, we've got them for Blackmagic Design Film, Red Log, C Log, S Log 3, D Log, V Log, a whole bunch of 2020 stuff. You got a lot of input LUTs, which means you don't have to go searching for them anymore, and they work great, they look great. I was testing them on some of my Pocket 6K footage. It's awesome. But if maybe you're using a camera that has a log profile that there's not a built-in LUT for, you can still import them like I would have to do with my DJI Pocket 2 footage. Also new are the RL color wheels, which add functionality like the log wheels in DaVinci Resolve. So regular color wheels, you've got lift, gamma, and gain, and when you do something to either one of those wheels, it still affects the entire image at least just a little bit. With the RL wheels, if you do something to the shadow wheel, it only affects the shadows, the midtone wheel only affects the midtones, and the highlight wheel only affects the highlights. And there's two little sliders that will allow you to determine which luminance range in your video is a shadow, a midtone, or a highlight. So you've got this whole new level of control in your color grading. It's super, super cool. I'm really, really impressed with that. Also, revamped color curves. We had color curves in Vegas Pro 18, but your Y, R, G, and B curves were all in this same box, and you had to make sure that you were using the right curve, and sometimes you would screw up. It's kind of a pain. It's honestly the way that most NLEs work, including DaVinci Resolve. But in Vegas Pro 19, they've separated those curves. So in one box, you've got your luminance or your Y. In another box, you've got your red. Another one, you've got your green. Another one, you've got your blue, which adds, again, more control, more flexibility, the ability to work faster, and it's the ability to not get as confused when you're working with curves. It's super, super cool. So overall, I really, really, really like what they've done with the color grading effect, but I do have a couple complaints. First complaint, right off the bat, you've got HSL sliders, hue, saturation, luminance, but there's no temperature, there's no tint, and there's no contrast. These are all color correction musts, and I think that they really need to be added to the color grading effect. Also, we still can't add this effect at the track level. We can only do it on individual clips. Now, I get the concept behind that because this is supposed to be meant for color correction, which is typically done at the clip level. But let me give you a scenario here. Most of the stuff that I film for this YouTube channel is done right here in my office. And even if I have multiple clips shot, a lot of the times it's right here in my office, me looking at the camera with the same lighting, same background, everything, absolutely everything. So if I bring 4 or 5 clips that I shot with this setup into my project and I put them in my timeline, I have to color grade each one of those clips separately. Now, I could go ahead and use that color grading effect on the first clip and then just copy and paste it to other clips, but wouldn't it be easier to be able to put that color grading effect at the track level so that whatever I do to that color grading effect, it just does it to all the clips on the track? That would be so much easier, so much faster. So I really hope that we can get this color grading effect at the track level. Other than that though, color grading effect, easily the best looking effect and probably my favorite effect in all of Vegas Pro 19, except for text to speech, because that's just fun. All right, let's talk about something that's been missing from Vegas Pro for a long time, and that's adjustment clips or adjustment layers. In Vegas Pro 19, we still don't have them. But we do have adjustment tracks, which are super cool. So basically what you would do is put an adjustment track in your timeline. It's an empty track, and whatever you do to that track is going to affect all of the clips below it. So you could add maybe an auto look to that track, and it's going to give that look to all the clips below it. And if maybe there's some clips on that track where you don't want that effect, there's actually a built-in curve on the adjustment track, and you can add points to it and bring it down or bring it up or whatever, so you can actually adjust the intensity of whatever effects you have on that adjustment track. It's a pretty cool concept. I've never seen anything like it, but playing around with it was a lot of fun because you can actually do, like, maybe you do, like I said, an auto look, and maybe you want one clip to start off without that effect, but as the clip goes on, that effect kind of slowly fades in. You can use the curve to do that. It's a really fun and really cool concept. But wouldn't it be so much better if you could put that color grading effect on there? I mean, come on. All right, let's talk about project notes real quick because they're a little bit new. They were introduced, or at least they existed in Vegas Pro 18, but now we've got some added functionality. For instance, now when you create a project note, there will be a timestamp on that project note, and when you click on that timestamp, your playhead will jump to that spot in the timeline. So it's a little bit of an added functionality. But the big picture here is what I want to talk about. The Vegas team is working on down the road being a more collaborative experience with Vegas Pro 19. So let me give you a scenario. Let's say you were a YouTuber and you were working with a remote editor. So you film your video, right? Maybe you throw your footage into Vegas Pro 19 into a project and you do all your basic cuts, and then that entire project gets backed up to a cloud, and then you just text your editor and say, hey, footage is ready for you to edit. The editor goes in there. He doesn't have to download anything because it's all backed up. He just logs in, goes into Vegas Pro 19. There's the project. He opens it up. He does his rough cut, all without having to upload to Google Drive or mail SSDs or SD cards or anything like that. It's just one seamless collaborative experience, and that is the ultimate goal of Vegas Pro 19. Project Notes is just the first step in that, and I'm super excited to see where they take that. The only problem I have with Project Notes is there's no indicator on the timeline that a note exists, so you actually have to physically go into the notes section of Vegas Pro 19 in order to see what notes are there. It's not a huge deal. It's not a huge time waster or anything, but it would be nice to be able to open up a project, look at the timeline and see, oh, look, there's notes there. And then you can go into your project notes, and just an indicator, an added layer of security against missing something. All right, let's talk about VFX for a second. And when I say a second, I mean a second, because there's not a whole lot new there, because they're really pushing the whole Vegas effects thing, which I like. I covered that in my Vegas post video. And honestly, if you're going to be doing visual effects in Vegas Pro 19, I would suggest using Vegas effects for that. But as far as VFX are concerned, we do have an update. We now get in the Pro or Post option, you get Pre-Matte Studio from ProRes Effects, which is green and blue screen software. Super, super cool. Also, you have the ability to import tracking data from ProRes Effects Mocha. Also really cool. Now, honestly, I didn't play around with any of that stuff because I'm not much of an effects guy. So if I was to review that part of it, it would be something along the lines of, I pushed buttons for 10 minutes and couldn't figure anything out. So there's that. And then to touch on audio really quickly, I know I'm a huge audio guy, but like I said, the basics were all covered in my Vegas Pro 18 review, and there's nothing new in Vegas Pro 19 on the audio side yet. So now that I've spent a year and a half talking about all the new features, let's talk about what I like and what I don't like. First of all, I love how fast Vegas Pro 19 is. I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but I gotta say it again because it is just stupid fast. The workflow, everything is just fast, and I absolutely love that. I love fast. I'm always looking for ways to save time, and Vegas Pro 19 has a lot of ways to save time, so kudos to them for that. Also, some of the new features like the upgrades to the color grading effect and the adjustment tracks are bringing some what I consider to be must-have capabilities to Vegas Pro, which is awesome. I think it's making it a more attractive option for video editors who maybe have dismissed Vegas Pro in the past. And also, if you didn't get this from me before, I'll say it again. I'm super excited about the collaboration plans that the Vegas team has. I think project notes are a really good indicator of what's to come, and I just can't wait to see what they do with it. But it's not a perfect software, right? There are definitely, there is no perfect software, but I definitely have some notes for some improvements. First of all, the old existing tools. This is my big thing. The old existing tools that seem like they have been there forever are showing their age. All of the audio tools, all of the old coloring tools, all of that stuff, the old VFX tools, they're showing their age. They're old, they're clunky, they're not really as intuitive as they could be. I'm not a fan. They need to be completely overhauled, revamped, or replaced with more features like the color grading effect. Like, picture this. Like I said, there's no updates to audio right now, but let's say you put your timeline together, right? And you did your color grading, you did your effects, all that stuff. You're down to audio. Audio is the last thing. Let's say you can add a track effect called, I don't know, audio editing or something like that. And when you add that effect and it opens up there, you will have your dynamics, you'll have your EQ, you'll have normalization, you'll have de-esser, all of the basic stuff that you need to create a good sounding video instead of having to go through and add a whole bunch of effects or effects chains or anything like that. Effects chains are great, but wouldn't it be cool to just have one interface where you could do all that stuff? I would love to see something like that in Vegas Pro 19. We need to do something about those old outdated tools. I'm sorry, it needs to happen. So that's what I like, that's what I don't like. Let's move on to business updates because there's some new stuff here. First of all, this one's huge. Vegas Pro 19 is it. There's no more big releases of Vegas Pro. There will be no Vegas Pro 20. Now, that doesn't mean that Vegas Pro is going away, never to be seen again. You're not wasting your money on Vegas Pro. What it means is actually the opposite. It means that instead of having to wait 12 months to get all of the shiny new features in the next big release, you're going to get those shiny new features as they're ready in an update to Vegas Pro 19. Now, this was actually, strangely enough, the plan for Windows 10, according to Microsoft. We see how well that worked. Hopefully it works better with Vegas Pro 19, because I think it's actually a really cool concept, being able to get those new features faster. Yes, please. All right, let's talk about pricing, because pricing is new, pricing is exciting. It's a lot more palatable than it was in Vegas Pro 18 or when Vegas Post came out. They're offering a lot more for the money here. Let's go over some of the options you got. First up, first tier, Vegas Edit. That only comes with Vegas Pro 19, and that costs $12.99 a month or $249 one time. The next tier up is called Vegas Pro, and that gives you Vegas Pro 19. It also gives you Vegas Stream, which is their new live streaming software, which I've been playing around with and I'm super excited about. It gives you SoundForge Audio Studio and it gives you Boris FX Pre-Mat Studio, and that's all for $19.99 a month or $399 one time. And then finally, we got the big daddy, the top tier option, which is Vegas Post, which I did a whole video about, but that gives you everything in Vegas Pro plus Vegas Image and Vegas Effects, and that costs $29.99 a month or $599 one time. Now, you might be asking yourself, what's the difference between the subscription model and the one-time payment model? Well, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked. Let's talk about it. If you get a subscription model, that would be a 365 subscription. So Vegas Edit 365, Vegas Pro 365, or Vegas Post 365. Then what you're getting is software that is always up to date, always got the latest features. Plus you get the Vegas Hub features. So that mobile upload and Vegas content, and you get the text-to-speech feature, which again, super fun to play around with. On the other hand, if you do the one-time payment, you get a perpetual license for Vegas Pro 19 and whatever else you pay for, and you get updates for 12 months. So any new features that come out in those 12 months, you get those, and then after that, you'll have to pay again in order to get those updates. You also get no Vegas Hub, so you don't get the mobile uploads, you don't get the cloud storage for that, you don't get the Vegas content, you also don't get the text-to-speech. So personally, I would lean towards one of the subscription models because again, Vegas Hub is super, super useful, and 2, text-to-speech is really, really cool, and 3, I get FOMO like crazy and I don't want to miss out on any of the new features. Speaking of missing out on new features and all that stuff, if you are interested in Vegas Pro, it is linked below. I think I forgot to mention that earlier, but yeah, that's all linked below. All right, now let's answer the question you guys have been wondering since the beginning of this video. Why is Vegas Pro 19 the most important NLE release of 2021? Now, in order to answer that, I need to explain something about the world of NLEs. There is a gap in that world. On one hand, you've got all of your beginner level software like Movavi or Filmora, or all the mobile stuff that you can get on Chromebooks or your tablet or your phone. And then on the other hand, you've got all your like Hollywood professional software like Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve Studio and Final Cut and Avid and all of those, the ones that have actually been used to make literal Hollywood movies. And in between those two spaces, there's just a lot of empty space. There's not really anything there, which sucks because that's where most of us live, right? Us YouTubers and wedding filmmakers, all of us content creators. We need more than what the beginner level software is going to give us, but we're not necessarily going to take advantage of all the tools that the Hollywood professional software is going to give us. And so we're left either with wanting more or needing less. But now we've got Vegas Pro 19, which sits in the middle in between those two tiers. They have stated that they want to target that content creator. They're not aiming to be the best NLE out there. They're not aiming to be a Hollywood level NLE. They're aiming to be exactly what I said, more than the beginner, but not overwhelming you with stuff that you're never going to use. And I think with the new features that they've added on, I think with the new, more palatable pricing, I think with the move towards more collaborative features, I think they're really zeroing in on that content creator audience and coming up with a very, very good option, which is why I think it's important. Now we've got this whole group of people who have a piece of software that is actually tailor-made for them for what seems like the first time ever. So who do I think this is for? I think this is for the content creator, for the YouTuber, for the wedding filmmaker, for, you know, anybody who makes content for the internet. I think this is for you. So if you are using one of those beginner level NLEs and you're looking for something more, but you feel like you're going to be overwhelmed by some of the more professional software out there, give Vegas Pro a try. I think it really is tailor-made for you. All in all, complaints aside, I'm super impressed with Vegas Pro 19. I really do think that it is a solid option to consider if you are a content creator. And the best part about Vegas Pro 19 is the team behind it. I have spent a lot of time talking with those guys, and they are actively listening to their audience. In fact, they told me that the new pricing and some of the new features, the new directions that they're going, came as a direct result of the feedback that you guys gave me on these 2 videos right here. So pat yourselves on the back for that. You're the reason why Vegas Pro 19 is so awesome. I'll see you later.